We are heading into our third game of this grand finals. Fnatic are one game away from both the NLC crown, which they lost out to XL in Spring Split, looking to reclaim, and also that group stage spot in the European Masters, I'm sure will be a weight off their shoulders, given how the European Masters went for them previously. So I think Fnatic, obviously hungry, Tricked now need to dig deep. A reverse sweep needs to happen here. It has to be 3 games on the trot for Tricked, and they definitely have it in them. It's just whether they can dig deep enough right now, because that's the important part. This is that step. This is that first game that can set you up, but they need to do it right now.
That's the thing, and we need to see the adaptations coming through here. In the second game, the adaptation was we need to get away with the Diana or to take that champion away from them. Now it seems like the Varus is still one of them being taken away, but are you still going to remove that Diana, or are you going to default to one of the other bans you had before? That is going to be the question. And I'm going to try and predict something as well. Tricked, Red Side 2, they'll try and pick the Leona, because I also think that while Bean has been incredibly dangerous on Varus, I also think Rox and the Leona has been pivotal for the series from Fnatic so far.
And now you have Thresh and Viego both open up and available. Okay, it's gonna be the Aphelios insta-ban right here. Now the problem is that Trick can take away from him the Thresh.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Lucky wasn't exceptional on the Thresh in game number 1. And they can play the Blitzcrank if they want together with the Aphelios. It's not the best pairing that you can have with an Aphelios, because Aphelios does want to be a little bit more protected, something like the Tamkins or the Thresh next to him. But you can definitely pull out a Blitzcrank and try to play very early for the Aphelios lane. I think Bean has been doing exceptionally well in the entire series. So don't change the formula, keep playing for him.
I take it back immediately. As soon as the Aphelios come through, you have to take away the Thresh. I don't think you can let it go through. At the same time, Viego, I thought it worked fine for Taxa. Like they're defaulting on towards the Trundle now, but I honestly thought that the Viego was a great skirmisher they had in the beginning, and they got a good few kills with it. So they are just gonna give that one over. So now it's on Fnatic really, where they can actually pick up the Viego if they would like to, and then the support options are there for you as well. You can go the Leona as well. We've already seen one time in this series that Rox has not minded playing it in, and
it's open.
also
we
Open, yeah.
completely missed. Honestly, that's so surprising as well. That's not something Taxa wanted to go on to either. So quite crazy going into this one. I think you have to third pick your support here, or else you're going to be lacking when you're going into the second ban phase, and it is just going to be the Braum.
That is such a good already front-to-back composition right there for Fnatic Rising. It is stellar. This is the sort of composition that you want to have when you have something like the Aphelios, something that is very protected, but you also have frontline. And right there, your Braum is your frontline, and the Zinzao is your frontline. Pride could end up going with something like the Na that can also provide an extra layer of frontline, and then all you need is just a very powerful mate for Dayor in the mid lane. And you actually said, whoa, we haven't seen a Caitlyn in so long.
That's a Demvoxney special right there. That's a Demvoxney special throwback.
I don't know if I like it, guys. I mean, it might be Demvoxney special, but there's a reason we don't necessarily see too much of Caitlyn. The Ziggs was open and available. Does pretty freaking well. I mean, we saw Demvoxney onto the Ziggs. He absolutely shined. He plays the champion to perfection. Again, I feel like Tricked are putting too much pressure on their individuals to shine, rather than playing something that is so darn easy to execute, as easy as pressing your R buttons and getting a wombo combo that Fnatic have done like twice in a row now.
Okay, so I will say though, Caitlyn was just buffed on this patch with her Qs. Thank you, Ox, as well, for pointing it out in our production chat. But what I'm confused about is the fact that they don't want to try and play the map, that they're not opting in for this Twisted Fate themselves with a Silas ban or something they like. Because I think when you see Fnatic rising with their pick potential right now, not the pick potential, the team fight potential they have, if you get a combo where you can split up the map against Aphelios, Broms, and Sao and create man advantage, it might be a bit easier to pilot, but it just seems like it's not in the comfort and Trick. It's the second time today they've banned it in the second ban phase as well. And now Camille also gets removed. So if we are to go off the tangent that we saw earlier in game 1 as well, where Trick did play the red side, they are just going to be blind picking their mid laner here and then save the last pick for Matley.
See what the final ban will be here for Fnatic Rising. It will be the Rise. So clearly a little concerned about that wave clear machine in the previous game. And the Mundo will get immediately locked in here for Tricks. Yeah, okay, so
this is sort of giving Pride a very easy way to pick his Na if he so wishes to do. and it gives them a very easy way of like engaging when they have the Mega now. You can also go for something like the Orianna for Dayer and just resort onto something that's a little bit more laid back, that clears waves and sort of complements both the Aphelios and the Xin Zhao. But you can also go for the Sylas. You don't have the Alistar ultimate, but you have Subjugate, I guess, for Trundle, so it can definitely work to like one up on the Mundo.
So the reason why I like the Mundo here better as well is just I don't think the top lane priority is going to give you anything for this game. I think you get way more value out of putting Paulson in a favorable matchup. Now, what that matchup is supposed to be against the Ryze, I'm not too sure. Casio was just buffed on this patch as well. And I think Casio against Sylas, Casio against Xin Zhao, Casio against a composition that wants to either kite back or come into you, it could be a really valuable pick. I think if you go for this Orianna here, it might just become a bit stale as we saw in game 1. It gives you a bit of early priority, but once again, a lot of this is you having priority in lanes, for example, the bot lane with Caitlyn from Orianna, from a melee matchup into Sylas, and then you have to work to make the skirmishes work in the early game with the Trundle into this and Zhao. And if you're not able to do that, well, then the kite back potential as well from the side of Fnatic Rising and the skirmishing and in general, the scaling as well, as soon as Sylas gets the item, as soon as Gangplank gets the item, that gets very scary.
Again, I don't see ball delivery for the side of Tricked. It seems to me like a team that wants to kite backwards, but then Fnatic Rising don't necessarily care too much about that, because if Tricked wants to kite backwards, then the time that they want to come forward, then you have the Gangplank ultimate, you have the Xin Zhao to split them up, you have the Braum shield, you just have so many tools in your kit, and then the second the Mundo dives in, you're going to have your own Subjugate with the Sylas that has stolen it from the Trundle, and you pretty much will destroy the only heavy tank that the side of Tricked has. I think, again, Fnatic, it gets pretty boring to say every single time, but I think they're like one up on the draft. The Aphelios looked really dodgy as like a first pick, especially when the Xin Zhaos were in and the Viegos were in and the Threshes were in, but they've made it work. They've completely built a front to back composition.
I'm kind of excited. I think this is a throwback for Devoxny. I think if they can play through him and kind of get those plates full onto the Caitlyn, we might see something happen here. But at the end of the day, Fnatic clearly on a win streak, clearly playing and feeling themselves in terms of their gameplay. We'll see. Hopefully, HitBrain's managed to sort out his hiccups. We could be in our final game of the day here. Final game of the NLC season as well. HitBrain and Orcs, take it away.
Can Fnatic find themselves a 3-0 in these grand finals? They are looking on form. They had a really, really good game 2 and game 1. And they've dropped themselves a pretty nice comp here. Orcs, desks seem very in favor of Fnatic right now. Where are you landing?
Yeah, I think it's kind of understandable, because I think when we get to the later stages, I don't think Trick necessarily have that kind of composition just because of the scaling element of Fnatic Rising. But I think one thing to note is kind of Madly and Taxa, if they can get ahead, will become kind of hard to deal with. And I think Tricked have the tools early, right? They're going to have priority mid. Sylas is actually weaker on this patch. We saw his Chain Lash get buffed, which is a bit better for contesting priority, but his W got nerfed quite significantly. So your laning's actually a bit harder. You can't heal nearly as much. You can't just sort of go and hit the wave and then W the enemy mid laner and be like, okay, well, I barely lost any health as a result. They will be punished early. Bot lane as well, the Caitlyn, we don't really see much of it anymore, but you're going to find priority in this lane with the Thresh as well. So I think there are lanes that Trick can play through, and you have a Trundle, who is one of the few champions who can actually duel Xin Zhao early. So I think Trick need to use that agency, because they kind of had a similar thing game 1 where they had the prio, they had a jungle who could enact pressure, and they didn't. But they need to. If they don't do it this game, if they just sit back and let Fnatic get to the point where they're comfortable, I really struggle to see how they're going to approach things.
Well, Fnatic did sit back. They didn't actually look to cover the jungle. They just wanted to group up in that bush in case an invade came through. You have the tools with a Xin Zhao and a Braum to be able to really have some pretty strong skirmishing. So surprisingly enough, Trick decided not to walk into the face of Fnatic there. As Fnatic will make their way towards this bot side wave and start collecting farm here. GP, been a little while since we've seen the GP get busted out. Typically has pretty decent matchups into champions like the Mundo, although I've not actually seen new Mundo versus GP, but I'm assuming it's probably pretty okay for GP.
I mean, GP can just harass early and sort of put some pressure down, but Mundo can farm from a distance, just kind of chill at that. Eventually, if you fall behind in this matchup, then Madly will get to the point where you can't really chunk him, he can just run you down. But if you manage to pull ahead, it can be pretty uncomfortable for the Mundo. But we'll see. For now, though, you can see that bot lane priority achieved by Tricked. Mid lane priority is achieved by Tricked. So this is sort of given the windows for Tricked to play through.
Yeah, it really is. We'll see what Taxa can do with that pressure, though, as both of the junglers are clearing in opposite directions from one another. Taxa moving through the red side upwards. Maxi also has downwards, sorry. Maxi done the same, but upwards. So both of them be on their blue side means we probably won't see any skirmishing for the crab. I think Maxi would be okay with that, considering actually he does have GP pushing, so I don't think Maxi minds either way, to be honest. But he's going to start off his camps and just shoving a fairly large wave here in the top side of the map as Dale just getting a little bit of poke put into him by Paulson, but he is that level. He has got that level 3, so if Paulson oversteps, the Kingslayer heal can be pretty significant, plus all the CC. So Paulson has to be somewhat careful on that front.
That's the thing with the nerfed heal, especially when Paulson gets to level 5 and his Q starts doing a lot of damage. That's when the laning will be a little bit tricky. I've actually seen some people max Q instead of W now on the chain stylus. I think here you'd still kind of be happy taking the W max, but we'll see. We do see them looking for a dive on Madly, and yeah, I don't think you're getting out, dude.
Yeah, that's first blood, just like that for Maxi. Lovely little teleport there from Dale, just to make sure that this was going to be a guaranteed kill. Fnatic can shove a wave in, and Madly already pretty heavily denied. Going to be denied even more, so now he has to burn that teleport, and Pride can hang around or go for the reset and probably hold that teleport, to be honest. Should be able to get back to the wave without losing too much. So we'll have a replay of this dive, because it's just pretty flawlessly executed.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You stacked up that big wave. We knew that Pride would have priority here, and he didn't fast push it too much. He built up so that there'd be this position, because Maxi was pathing towards top side. Theo was a little bit down in farm mid, but that's expected. Bot lane's a little bit down in farm again, but this is Fnatic finding that early agency, using the tools that Zinzao has, and Tricked so far haven't really done anything.
I think my main comment on Fnatic in this series versus the rest of playoffs is it just feels like they finally figured themselves out. They finally figured out the win cons and how to play any comp they draft for themselves. Now, obviously, we're early into this game, and with Rux getting chunked, might be eating my words a little bit here, but they recognize how to play through their top side. They're very decisive on it as well. There's no hesitation. Dayor instantly goes in for that teleport, even though, you know, by the time he arrived, Madly was already heavily chunked. It didn't matter. Fnatic were ready to go for the play. They're very decisive, and I think that's the big difference. Is the Fnatic we saw throughout the rest of the playoffs, there were some hesitations. There were some can we, can't we moments from them, but no, in the finals, they've done their prep. They've played their best of 5 versus Singularity. They are now ready.
I mean, I think a big thing is the coordination as well. This is a team who have had very little time to play with their mid laner. And so any practice they were able to get, they didn't have too much turnaround, but they've had a little bit of a break now between that series against Singularity and now. And it's clear they've worked out a lot of the kinks, and this is kind of the full form Fnatic Rising that we expected. It's hard to sort of compare to how they'd be if Febevan had still been on the roster. This definitely feels a lot more similar to what we would have expected from them. Whereas, you know, when they initially came in and played against Strict, it felt a bit rough.
Oh, the trap is huge, but the wall comes up, and Lucky may find himself locked down. The cannon barrage is coming in. Bean's been ignited, but they'll use that lantern, as then Voxy has to be really, really careful. The tower's going to come in with the Gravitum, and Fnatic get out of a very hairy situation, burning all of their summoner spells on Bean and the ignite from Rux.
Yeah, and I mean, the critical thing is that trap set up earlier forces that from Bean, but he had to play from Tricked. You can see Lucky trying to play Bean into another trap, but wasn't quite able to find it. Did you see they look mid to see if they can potentially find something? Maxi's going for more. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either, dude.
Flash for Shockwave. I think Paulson's going to give that a quick thumbs up and go, worth.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where you hit a W, and it's kind of like the Lee syndrome, and you're like, you just feel like you have to commit to it. But I don't know, man. I didn't see a window where you'd really find that one.
Well, Dragon's going to get started. Fnatic have 100% first Dragons in this series so far. In fact, I think Tricked have only had 2 Dragons, one of which was the Elder Steel from Taxa in that last game.
And I like this early priority on the Dragons from Fnatic Rising because I really rate their comp if they can get rolling into the later stages. Things like GP, the Aphelios really come online. But the critical thing is if the enemy team starts collecting dragons, it forces you to fight earlier than maybe you'd hope. So by taking that one off the table, especially as it's the Cloud Dragon, so it means that the soul is going to be Ocean or Infernal. I feel like Ocean Soul for Tricked would be insane. So keeping that one away from them a bit longer, definitely important.
He almost landing himself that hook onto Bean, but Bean's going to be okay to avoid and dodge away on that little one. Gold lead still there for Fnatic. Obviously, they've got that first blood in the top side, and outside of that, it's been a little bit more quiet up there. They got that kill. CS lead is building. The Executioners has been finished up for Pride, but they're chilling for now. It looks like they want to try and play a little bit through this other side of the map as Denvoxy has to be careful. Maxi trying to see if he can find it as Rux will eat that, and then they're just going to jump forward. The Lantern out to safety, but a little bit more damage coming in. Looking for that lockdown by Bean.
I broke his Lantern.
Lantern is a irritating ability to deal with.
Yeah, and a lot of time invested there by Maxi to very little reward. It's going to give the signal to Tricked to take this Herald on the top side. They may look for the return gank here, though.
They'll find themselves a cheeky lockdown, but Lucky has to be a little bit careful. Low HP. Fnatic trying to work a wave in here. Maxi's got that blast cone to get over the wall. It's kind of now or never, really, for Fnatic. This wave, they have to dive and they have to make it work. Otherwise, Tricked would have just wasted so much time on Maxi. Now he's got that Crescent Guard. He's going to jump in, dodge away on the hook. Everybody's knocked up. Fnatic find a double kill to Maxi. And there it is. That's what they were playing for.
Yeah, and if you set a Caitlyn behind this early, it's never going to improve, right? And the support wasn't there from Tricked. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about when we came into this game. Tricked have that early agency. I'd like to see them use it. They haven't. And this has kind of been the recurring theme. Game one, they had the Prio mid-bot. They had a jungler who could be more proactive early. Nothing came from it. Similar situation here. All Tax has done has been able to secure that Herald. It's a 3-0 Maxi now on this Inzao. And there's a reason this champion's always banned. He is insane when he gets ahead. Just becomes basically immortal. Can dive on your backline and cause issues. And again, I really struggle. If Tricked are behind, Tax and Madly will just get shredded. Madly getting shredded.
Madly having a fight. Hot. Zappa is on. The flash from Madly. Pride can't finish it up. Thanks to the maximum dosage, healing Madly up. Pride able to get away with that one. Well, Madly able to get away with that one.
And look at the replay. Thing is, there's Cannon Barrage as well available in this play when it's happening. I think that kind of shows the difference here. They stack up on a tower. The ult for the Braum hits both. They don't even need the Cannon Barrage. That's the crazy thing. Just well executed from Fnatic Rising, but also Tricked kind of put in a position they couldn't really outplay. And yeah, it's a 2,000 gold lead. A little bit concerning already. And the thing is, you only have 2 carries inside of Trick that are doing like a ton of damage. Taxa can do a fair bit if he's ahead. But if he's behind, you throw a Cannon Barrage down on top of Pulse and Voxnate, and it becomes very difficult for Trick to team fight.
Well, 10 minutes in, Fnatic have themselves a 1,900 gold lead over Trick. So you can see components coming in across the board, Bean not really revealing what Mythic he's going to. Curious to see what then Voxnate actually opts into as well. We've seen Kraken Slayers. I think I've seen Gale Forces as well. Not really too many shield bows, but it's all in all not an awful item considering that Fnatic will be looking to jump onto him consistently.
Yeah, I think this is for sure, probably in my opinion, a Gale Force game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't play that much Caitlyn. I don't see too much Caitlyn. So it's hard to say. But I definitely think there's a lot of value in that extra mobility. You're going up against the likes of Fnatic Rising. I mean, I guess you have the Thresh, though, so that's something to be said for it. Either way, this has been a slower game compared to the previous two. The pace set in those ones. Game 1, extremely fast. Game 2, we did get that sort of lull in the mid to late game. But for the most part, Fnatic really accelerated it. And now they're looking to do something similar again. But this is still hard to do.
Oh, the Graviton into the Lantern. Beautiful escape there. Lucky with the Lantern. Thresh honestly paying dividends right now here for Trick. I think Denvoxney has got away from a lot of situations he shouldn't have got away from because of that Thresh Lantern.
Just press W, lol. It's like enemy team throwing all these abilities out, all this TC, and Thresh just throws a Lantern and it's solved. And now Fnatic they keep trying to force through this lane, but they just aren't really finding success. And that's why the pace of this game is being so slow, because Fnatic Rising are very much struggling. And the thing is, Lucky's position has been a critical factor. He's constantly standing back so Denvoxne can farm, and then he's in a position to lantern. If Lucky steps up, that's when things become tricky. So like now he's walking forwards. The lantern's not really that good, so he instantly moves back. In this situation, obviously, you have Taxa there. Maxi's not available, so you ain't too concerned. But it looks like Taxa's is going to throw the Herald down bot. Not exactly optimal Herald usage. I think
not
if
when
Maxi
you've got
can
the
finish off
Silas
Dragon-
roaming over, the Dragon being picked up, your jungler's
Yeah,
about.
this may not even get a tower hit, honestly.
I'm pretty sure this Rift Herald will not be getting a tower hit. It's going to be going oh so low, but they find themselves a hook, and actually this might just be it. The cannon barrage coming in, the double teleports are there. Maxi has to use the Crescent Guard, and the Shockwave lands onto two. A great stopwatch to deny the third, but now the fight is breaking out, and Tricked are running away with it. Bean has so many chakrams charged up, but Tricked find the team fight victory. The charge is interrupted, but that does not matter. Trick just ran over Fnatic in that fight.
Yes, I mean, stop the Herald, great from Fnatic Rising, but they commit to this fight, and the strength of the Trundle in these close-range skirmishes, the fact that Trick brought 5 members and Fnatic only 4, heavily in favor of them, and now don't have the Herald, but they're able to get a lot of damage. And I think this is the problem, right? Maxi gets chunked out initially, and there's this split. Bean's trying to deal with the Herald. They know they want to back away because of double teleport, and the Shockwave pulls them back in. They're just not able to disengage quick enough, and as a result, Trick kind of just run over them here.
A lot of plates as well picked up there by Denvoxne. And Bean just catching the last of the wave before he goes for his own reset. Huge fight there for Tricked. And now you can see top side items are coming in. It is a Gale Force here for Denvoxne as his item. So obviously the fresh lantern's nice, but that extra dash, that extra mobility, and a bit of safetiness it gives you pretty big. As they all need to be careful. Spotted out by Lucky, but actually maybe it's Lucky he needs to be careful as Dale not going to go in for a quick abscond dot combo.
Yeah, even with the nerfs to his healing, still a bit too bulky than I feel like Paulson and Lucky had the damage for, especially without Ignite, without that Shockwave being available then and there. It's still 2 dragons in favor of Fnatic Rising, right? It's Notion Soul, which I do think Tricked would have absolutely adored, but it's still pretty good for Fnatic Rising. And ultimately, they still have tools to sort of play around, but I think Tricked finding that favorable play on the bot side was really a good way of getting them back into this game. And now Taxa has that Divine Sundra. Trundle really strong on that one-item spike, and they're just leaning bot side. They know Fnatic Rising are going for the Herald, so they're going to zone Bean off here. And Denvoxne probably just going to be able to, takes this tower pretty quickly.
And this is a very different game. Fnatic have been heavily leaning on Bean as their primary carry. They tried. They really tried to play through him, but Tricked with this fresh pick of just being able to completely deny any bot lane play, and now being kind of relegated to scaling. It's not the snowball. He needs to get that scaling going. And sure, when he gets to this kind of like 3-item mark, that's when this champion is going to be really big as Pride and Madly taking a fight. These barrels doing a lot of damage, and wow, Pride able to blow Madly up.
Yeah, that wasn't that close. You know, it started looking a bit close, but the healing reduction, the Triforce being completed, Pride does a lot of damage and just easily dispatches him. I think Madly, you know, we talked about this matchup. If Pride falls behind, Madly can kind of run him over. Well, Pride didn't fall behind. Pride's actually pretty fed. He's pretty farmed. So kind of a misstep for Madly. And now Fnatic Rising find their opportunity to get some damage on this tower. Do you need to be a little bit careful? You don't have that lantern safety net, but they know that they're in a decent spot right now. And gold's even. And again, it's on Trick to maintain this pace.
The charge is going to break out in the bot side this time, in the mid side, sorry. And this time it will actually get the charge off. So Fnatic will be able to pick this tower up easy as you go. Deja needs to be careful. Has a subjugate to work with. As Taxa subjugates him. Try to make him a little bit squishier, but the dashing from Dayor will mean that he'll be able to get away for now.
Such a good ult to steal, honestly.
Such a good ult.
Yeah, the AP ratio isn't amazing. So at level 16, for example, the ult does 35% of your max HP in total. 100 AP gives you an extra 2%, right? So even with AP, it's not game-changing. It's nice, has an AP ratio, but it's not going to drastically change it. It's mostly just the fact you get the resistances, right? And on a champion like Silas, pretty nuts.
I mean, you steal those stats from Madly. He goes from unkillable tank to, oh no, Silas is the unkillable tank, and he also does a load of damage. It's really, really strong, actually, into Tricked right here.
Yep, and that's the thing is that Taxa doesn't really have that great a selection in terms of targets for his subjugate because it's a Braum, it's not like a Leona who has Aftershock, and there's no one else who's really building that much resistances. Maxi builds HP, but you're not really building resist on the Xin Zhao until much later in the game.
Looks like there's a bit of a dance around this dragon. Fnatic don't really have control of the area. They don't really have control of the vision. Pride should be able to... okay, he missed his barrels, so he would be able to get control of the wave, but he's now has to wait a little bit longer before he can do anything there. Traps go down from the Caitlyn, and Rux finds himself caught out by the hook. The box goes up, and Rux puts out a Fissure. The cannon barrage was thrown down as well, but Deja getting himself a subjugate off and makes himself a little bit tankier, but he is inside the pit. He is in the wrong position right now, so he's going to eat the ace in the hole as well, and now Madly feels free to step up with the subjugate on cooldown, and Deja still in the wrong area. Moonlight Vigil goes wide, and I think Fnatic just have to call it here. They just have to walk away. That pillar stops Maxi from being able to do anything. He's pinned, but the correct goal to keep him alive has to be one hell of a barrel from Pride. Only lands onto 2, and I think with that, Fnatic just have to call it here. But they are still trying. They are still hanging around. Dragon not quite going down. Pride gets the cleanse off on to the hook, and now he's chunked. Beans chunked. Deja jumping in, flashing out. Taxi goes low. Maxi slides in, looking for Paulson, but he has to flash back out himself. And Denvoxy with the Gale Force, looking for the assassination. Fnatic should have backed away a long time ago, as Pride tries to find the barrel, tries to find that hero play, but Rux, the one who first got picked, will find himself picked up as well, as Bean has to flash over the wall, but the teleports are coming in, and Fnatic are not done fighting, as Paulson will get the kill onto Rux. The trap lands onto Deja. He steals away the maximum dosage, and Fnatic just getting greedy for the turnaround, and it bites them hard.
Yeah, I mean, this was good setup from Trick. The critical thing with the Caitlyn is being at the objective early. If you're there first, you set up the trap line, it forced Fnatic Rising to flank all the way around. Rux just got instantly picked off from court, and then Fnatic still try to play this 4v5. And again, I think it's super important. Trick got there first. The front line were in position to body block. Their back line was super safe. And you can see just from this replay, like Rux, yeah, you just can't face check. You should be walking in the brush where you know there could be traps. And then the follow-up here, right? You have this front line of Trick who are just steadily, like, madly soaking damage, and constantly Denvoxy and Paulson are just hunting, just taking little bits of damage here and there until they find favor in the fight. And then Denvoxy is able to charge forward. And we actually see Paulson with the TP in to clean up. Just really well played from Trick. Good patience on it. They didn't rush it. They didn't give the chance for Maxi to steal.
First dragon there over to Tricked in this game 3. And remember, we haven't really talked too much about what this game means. This is the final game here for Tricked. If their Nexus explodes, we are done. It will be a 3-0 for Fnatic Rising, and they had a dominating first 2 games. So Trick need to fight with everything. They need to find a reverse sweep. It's not just about the title. It's not just about being the NLC champion. It's actually about your placement in the European Masters. Deja has to be very careful. Great Lantern, but he has got himself a subjugate. The shock watch will stop him from getting the shock wave. Fnatic now have the inside track on mid. Not going to be able to clear through it quite quick enough, but they also have the inside track on that bot side as well. Large wave getting built up here by Pride. Fnatic just going to rotate multiple members over. Madly has to be somewhat careful because Fnatic are collapsing on this side of the map.
I think Fnatic has just been so good at playing defensive on their weaker side, right? It's consistently being like strict to try to find something. Nothing has come from it. Fnatic finds from the other side of the map now. Strict are trying to make something more come from this, and Pride's in trouble.
Yeah, Pride's dead. He can't do too much here. He tries to get a bit of additional damage off, but Denvoxy on a killing spree right now. Serpent's Fang finished up for Pride. Deal with all that shielding coming through. But outside of that, it's not like Bean had that massive item advantage like he had in previous games. He is equal right now to Denvoxy, if not even a little bit behind.
Yeah, I mean, Denvoxy's got a bunch of kills. Paulson's got a ton of farm. With this composition, you really need your carries to be strong. And for Tricked right now, they are in a strong position. You managed to secure that dragon, so Fnatic Rising aren't looking at a soul in the next few minutes. It gives Tricked space. It makes them feel a lot more comfortable, and they can kind of lean into their front-to-back strength as the game goes on.
And if we do go later, Ocean Soul is genuinely terrifying for Fnatic if Trick get that. Madly Taxa.
Pretty good.
They're going to be pretty hard to kill. Anti-heal is probably going to be quite important. Obviously, Pride has itemized towards that, but I think it'll be a little while before anyone else starts to get that area. Maybe might see an Oblivion all come out from Dayor at some point, but for now, 22 minutes on the clock. Hurricane finally finished up for Bean. Obviously, I've hit on that Serpent's Fang for Pride, but Demvoxny finished up the Mortal Reminder into the Gale Force. So quite speedy. Got that dash, got that Lantern. It's going to be very hard to punish Demvoxny. There is a bunch of shutdowns that Fnatic can look for, but I find it so hard unless you find a really good pick to get that shutdown just because of Lucky.
Yep, Dash up B, I think, is basically what we can address from this. Gives a lot of safety to these backline carries and helps really enable the front-to-back composition. Didn't really have too much impact in the first game, but here, once again, we see Trick first the objective, right? Fnatic Rising are trying to set up waves on this side of the map, but this means we're going to see that similar line of traps come down. Very difficult for Fnatic Rising to push through, so they'll take mid-priority, and they could look to just push through the river, but instead they're going to lean towards Baron and force Trick to try and get some vision down there at least. It is a pretty fast Baron, just with this sheer DPS coming out from Bean.
I think
Trick
Pride
needs
is
to do
going to be
something
the real carry in this game if Fnatic can win it. He is silently getting very fed. A lot of farm. He's been able to take 2 side lane towers, one of which by himself is he's pretty strong. He's a pretty scary threat. He's roaming over towards this dragon area. Dejor taking a fair amount of damage, and the subjugate's stolen away. So he's going to make himself nice and tanky, and I think we're going to have a fight on our hands here, Orcs.
Yeah, critical thing though is that Fnatic Rising were able to move in and get control of the area because Trick had to send a member to answer Pride. Very quickly got that, and now Trick had to walk through.
Look at the barrel onto Paulson, heavily chunked out already. The cannon barrage goes down, looks for the second barrel chain, is going to get interrupted. The shockwave flashed away, but the other side of the fight, Tax are going low. The Lantern is huge into the traps. Rux is going down, the flashes are burnt, and everybody's jumping in forward. Dayor being caught out, he looks for the chain lash, can't find the kill. Trick lose the dragon, but they find themselves a kill onto the mid laner for Fnatic Rising.
And now they want to move over to Baron, bait it, and chain more kills together. Fnatic Rising having that third dragon is a scary prospect, but if you are able to mount enough of a lead, it won't be a problem. Also, I think something to mention. Oh, see if anything comes from this. TP coming back in from Gangplank. Gonna be on that trap.
Yeah, he's going to be on the trap, but he's got himself an orange, so gonna heal up somewhat. It's Taxa fighting Maxi. Maxi almost in trouble, but a great block comes through. They've got that barrel. If he can land it onto multiple members. Oh, look at Paulson. Heavily chunked out there by Pride. Shielding won't do much, and Pride doing some real damage, some substantial damage.
This is where it gets scary when there's the multiple carries coming out from the side of Fnatic Rising. If Pride trades his life for Demvoxny, Trick are going to be in a rough spot, right? You really need so much value from Demvoxny and Paulson. We're going to replay off that, so again, Fnatic get a dragon, pretty good on that, but you can see they don't really want to commit to this fight too much. They try and hit Taxa, they try and finish him off, but after he's gone, the pillar's slowing them down. They know they have to disengage, and it's just that Huck comes in. We see Bean flash away, but they all just gets caught out. Ended up just being favored towards Trick. And I think a big thing to talk about actually is the subjugate usage. So Taxa used his subjugate first, and then that's actually, you want to try and save it, right? Because what happened was they subjugate each other. Taxa uses his, gets the extra resistances, and then they all steals even more resistances from him, right? So interesting interaction we don't usually get, because normally you don't have 2 Trundles in a game.
Is that how it works? Because aren't you just stealing your own stats back?
I mean, it depends who Taxa ults, right? But like,
True,
the way it works
true.
is you steal a percentage of the stats at the time you press R, which is why it's so good against Leona with Aftershock, because she gets a big burst of extra stats with a W and Aftershock, and you steal those, and then when it fades off, she actually loses, like she's still suffering from the same percentage as if she was buffed up. So there's even been some times where champions have gone like negative or something, right? But the thing with
Stage 1, he was quite famous for that as well.
So if Taxa ults first, he goes to the elevated position, and then Dayor has more to steal, right? Because think about it, Taxa doesn't have much resistance to steal from anyone, but he still will get a bit. So definitely little mind games you can play there with your prioritizers it. But either way, we're a bit more focused now on what the teams are doing here. Really, Fnatic doing their best to try and keep this mid lane tier 1 defended. It stops Trick from really pushing down and enacting pressure. And that's the critical thing. Despite the fact Trick to even in gold, they are down 4 towers in comparison.
Yeah, they really are. There's a lot of gold kind of locked on the map for Tricked, and even though they've been winning fights, They are still only marginally up here. So the tower will finally go down. That gold gets somewhat unlocked a little bit more in the mid side and unlocks the map more crucially. I want to take a look at the items as well, because I feel like these are going to be quite important. 3 items onto Pride. He's got the grudge now finished up. So GP hurting quite a lot. But the big thing for me is Bean is working towards that Mortal Reminder, while Den Voxney has a Mortal Reminder of his own. But
you mean Lord
I feel
Dominic's
Bean's Mortal Reminder is going to be way more impactful
Lord
than Den
Dominic's.
Voxney.
It's not
Lord
Mortal
Dom.
Reminder, it's Lord Dominic's.
Yeah, sorry. Lord Doms. Thank you.
Yep.
Mortal Reminder is the Executioner's one.
Yeah.
Anyway, Armor Shred item picked up for, well, will be coming in for both of these AD carries. And I think Bean's going to get better usage out of it.
But I think the big thing is that Voxney gets the IE, which he's able to pick up off that back. So
True.
he's going to be doing a lot of damage with this one. Pretty big spike for the Caitlyn, those 3 items. And I don't think Bean's going to get his in time for this dragon. Maybe he has enough gold here and he can reset. But if he resets now, it completely gives over control of this dragon area. So I don't think he finds the window. Definitely a bit of an advantage there for Trick. Remember, there's not Anathema's chains on Madly. He's likely looking, he likely has that on Bean, so reducing his damage quite substantially. You can see once again, Trick have control, have the trap line, makes it very difficult, especially with pillars as well, for Fnatic Rising to move in.
Well, moving through the Moonlight Vigil goes through the goalpost. That is big. That is bad. As the barrel gets interrupted by Paulson with the auto, and now Den Voxney's feeling like he can step up. Lucky lands the hook. There's the cannon barrage. Fnatic are looking for the Fisher. They're looking for the turnaround. The lantern's been used. Pride heals up. He's able to survive for now. Fnatic just have to step away. The ace in the hole will get blocked out by Rux with the stand aside, and Fnatic, they may just threaten Baron instead.
Feels really rough, these fights right now for Fnatic Rising, because the front line of Trick are so bulky. And I know Armor Pen's coming in, but they still don't exactly shred them easily. Rising will turn on to this.
Oh, Dragon's going to get started up by Madly. He's got teleport, and Pride is now stuck in the pit. They're going to jump in. They're going to look for the kill, but they're unable to get it. Now Pride is so low, almost dead. The Baron will finish him up, and then Voxney secures the kill. Rux has to flash over the walls. The Dragon is secure. Fnatic just getting too eager to try and find some kind of a play, some kind of a turnaround, and now the trap's down. The Baron can get started, and then Voxney 3 items on the Caitlyn is going to be able to make pretty short work of this. The Balta zone as well. I just don't think Fnatic can even get close to the pit.
Yeah, I mean, they feel like they really can't, so they're just going to back away. Baron over to Voxney, over to Trick, sorry. 3,000 gold lead just shy. They've now got those 2 dragons in pocket, so managed to deny back-to-back for Fnatic Rising, and Fnatic Rising just looked a bit lost on how to approach these team fights, right? Because they're behind, they need to try and engage, they need to try and deal with these backliners, but they keep just running at them, and they're just not able to find a way in. There was a window on the Pulsar, but he flashes away. Pride just dies to the Baron. It's just very messy.
Well, 30 minutes in, gold lead 3,000 in favor of Tricked. For the first time in this series, they are in a point where they're in a commanding position. Lord Dom's now finished up on to Bean. We'll see when that Infinity Edge comes through. It will be a little while before his 4th item comes in, which I assume will be that IE, but will he get to 4 items is the real question, as Dale has to be very careful. Spotsing out on the ward, has himself the dash over the wall, but Tax is coming in with the pillar. Gets himself a subjugate, and he's going to look to try and turn it around, but he is popped. The damage from Den Voxney way too large, and honestly undealable right now for him.
But why was he there?
The Baron Trick is just going to be able to take this tower and probably take the base. As Fnatic resetting now, they're too slow.
Yep, I have no idea why Dale was there though. I mean, really just opened himself to get caught out. This top inhibitor is going to go down. Trick can then move to mid. They have Madly already pushing the wave up, and Fnatic. Stark difference from that game 1 and 2.
This is what they did to Singularity. And they're actually keeping Pride in the top side of the map, so they're just letting him shove up a large wave.
I feel like we've seen from the side of Fnatic Rising when they're proactive on what they can achieve. I think Trick, you know, if Fnatic mis-execute and Trick have a composition like this is where things can really fall apart. Now, they'll take that mid inhib, Cannon Barrage to stop the resets. I don't think you find a backdoor here, just because the Baron recalls are so fast.
Yeah.
I think if you commit hard enough to stop the recalls, you're probably just going to die.
Oh, but they do go in for a 4-man Graviton. The knockup is big, and the shockwave by Paulson is even bigger. Fnatic's health bars are low, and Tricked are being run down. Bean's trying to find a kill, but Madly is going to chase him down. Double kill picked up for Bean. Here comes Pride. Then Foxy's oh so low, and they can't chase up these final kills. Bean is now dead, and it's all on Pride to find the kill versus Madly, but he's unable to do so. Uses the stopwatch. The barrels are popped, and Madly's on the trap. Dayor next up to go down as he comes in for the Kingslayer. Tricked find the ace.
And even with that huge ult from Bean, it's just not enough. Trick too far ahead. And again, the front to back paying dividends. Paulson finds a big shockwave. Fnatic Rising can't find a route in. And as soon as they start falling apart, they just cannot do more. Madly just feels unstoppable at this point.
And I don't think there's anything more Fnatic can do. 32 minutes on the clock, and Tricked start to pull this series back as they take game number 3.
Pretty decisive, honestly, to finish this one out, but still, it felt like a fair bit of this was on Fnatic misexecuting on some of the earlier plays. Tricked had good answers, and this was kind of the pace Tricked wanted to set, that slower lean into their scaling elements, priority on their mid and AD carry, and this is how Tricked to function in the league, right? Pulse and Devoxnate, the primary carries for the team, those two have been the standouts, and this comp really allowed them to flourish. I think the big thing for me was this Thresh pick. I don't think you can let them get it again, just because it shut down all the plays Maxi was going for every time. Lantern out, just on repeat.
Yeah, I think you have to ban Thresh. Thresh is such a strong champion, and they first picked the Aphelios, I believe, and left the Thresh open, which of course Tricked weren't going to give over to an Aphelios. So it was a bit of a crazy one, and the Dem Voxney special came up huge in this game. We're going to throw to a break, and when we're back, we'll have the analyst desk talk about that Tricked victory in game number 3. So see you in a moment.